Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SimSeniors and to a very special day, as you know. It's the finale and another season in the books. My name is Ben Sapsford, aka Sappytron. Tonight, I'll be your guide, but tonight is that finale round. This is where we wrap things up, folks. A lot has led to this, of course. Season 9 of SimSeniors now in the books. It has been a very different championship to seasons past. For one, this was the first time that we saw the combo of the Monday and the Tuesday night championships coming together and having a much more stacked roster. Briefly lost my words for a minute. But having a much denser track, having a much larger roster of drivers, and having much tighter and more compact races with multiple fights throughout the entire season. It's bronze, silver, gold, you name it, it's had some combat in the championship. And the championship's been on the line for the most part all the way through. Now, we have got to end it out in suitable fashion with an iconic track to match the gravitas of Season 9. You can see the calendar that we've had up until this point. It is, of course, a beautiful season that we've had. We've gone all the way from Belgium to the UK to South America, or South Africa to Australia and more. But tonight must have something to finish. And tonight is going to be Suzuka. Now, I am a sucker for this track. I'm going to be honest, I have a very special place in my heart for this track in particular. Just because this was one of the biggest tracks for me personally growing up. This is one of the tracks that got me hooked and sold on motorsport. And more than anything, I remember that almost childlike wonder. It's like, wait, there's people racing on top and underneath? The crossover, the concept of a crossover was completely alien to me as a child. So it's just one of those many characteristics that we have on this circuit, and it is a beautiful circuit at that. Of course, we have got the full roster of drivers. So taking you through our championship before we get into qualifying, you have first our gold class roster, and that is going to be in the top three. It's going to be, of course, Lean Blom, 266 points, with 229 points going to Frederick Gaimar in the Mustang and Peter Wolfslener in the Mustang GT3. Both Wolfpack contenders, and thanks to Johan Larsson as well, who sent me a nice little fact file about Wolfpack, and I'm sure you'll get to learn a little bit of trivia today alongside me as well as we get on to the course and get things up and running. Now, we are going to go for qualifying in a second, and you know how this works by now. 20-minute quali, bronze and silver first, and then 10 minutes of gold to round things off. Last things to go for, speaking of silver and bronze, you have got the silver championship. You've got 12 drivers as part of that, although more joined throughout the season, and more new faces made themselves known. Ones to watch, John Mitchell, 992 GT3, hefty lead of, I believe that is 14 points. Not as big as the gold class lead, but still very solid. That's going to be to Alex North in the Aston Vantage, alongside Rich Arscombe, who is third in the yellow Vantage of his own. Finally, it is the bronze roster, 14 drivers since the start, and Craig Niesbet is your leader in the purple and lime green. So certainly a striking, a little bit divisive of a colour scheme, but he's made his presence known at the sharp end of the field, alongside Andy Trickett, also in the McLaren, and closely followed by Roger Dismukes in the Porsche 992 as well. But that's where we leave things off, at least for the stats and the data, and we start to go in trackside. So let's join our racers now as we have our first runners of the circuit. It's going to be Matthias Martinsson, and he's going to be the first car out in that Mustang. And he's going to be putting some of that practice to good use. Interestingly, speaking of Wolfpack, as we are on board with his number 7, they actually have their own practice servers that they run together and as part of the team. So they have been racing together for a few years. They've gradually grown their roster from what used to be called Outside Area 51 to the Wolfpack racing team we now know today, competing in multiple divisions and championships on ACC and a little bit beyond as well. But let's take a lovely ride through along with the Mustang of Martinsson. He is going to be our first car to get a time on the boards, and let's see what he has to play with. First off, you're heading into the first corner here, so it's a sneaky double apex on the right hand side, and then you have the S's You have that sort of snaking part of the track. It's all about setting up some good lines here. A bad line is going to have a massive compounding effect when you get to the other end. You're going to scrub a lot of time, particularly this section with the anti-bank, and then you come up into Dunlop before you head into Sector 2. Smoothly done from the Mustang here, looking like he's on good form, and keeping the car nice and planted. Now into the Degners, Degner 1. Taking a little bit of curb there, but that is optimal. You want to maximize your line. Careful of the grass, though, as you head into Degner 2. And then under the later half of the track, later the third sector, into the hairpin, all the way down into first gear here, as he's going to be sweeping his way through, trying to get on that power nice and quickly, as we will soon see the racers come to the line. We have got some initial time set. Keep in mind, those are not valid laps. Those are just outlaps to be set at this point. So that was their outlaps. Those are not the official times, hence them not being ranked on the board ahead of the others. But Martinson now making his way out of Spoon Curve and into 130R, named for its radius, but 230 kilometers an hour. No issues here from the Mustang. Jumping deep. Oh no, too deep into the Casio triangle. He just goes too hot there. That's going to mean that Alex North, just behind him, will in fact be the first car to put something down. Martinson, unfortunately, taking a bit too much speed. And North is going to get our first time on the boards, or is he? There you go, up to the line. It's a 2:02.5. Immediately beaten behind him by Rich Arscombe. And then John Mitchell goes even faster with a 2 minute and 2 flat. Insane stuff. We're just going to switch things around so you can see who is part of what race, who is part of what class. Christian Sullivan is going to be our leader coming out for the bronze side of things. Here's Helge Olsen coming up to the line in the Lamborghini, the number 949. Hopefully we do see a bit of a strike up as he has floated around the bottom end of things. He is going to get a 2:05.3, but it's still something on the board, so he has a bit of a safety net now. Chris Wilson up to the line next in the silver. What's he going to get? It's going to be a, wow, 2:02.247. That is enough for the first row. Niesbet is going to continue to show why he's currently leading that championship. For the bronzes, he's going to have a 2:03 flat, and he's going to be half a second up on Christian Sullivan. Meanwhile, we have the last couple of cars yet to set a time. It's going to be Colomb here in the bronze. You have also Paul Murray, who needs to set one, and Andy Trickett coming through, is going into Sector 2, I believe, now as we speak. Martinson, though, will have a second lease of life, as he's now making his way down. Now, making through, it's going to be a 2:05.2, but it's not going to be valid for Colomb. So that will be a bit of a damper on things for him there. And it will be, unfortunately, a requirement to get them back on the track once more. Here's the Casio triangle, correctly taken this time by Martinson in the Mustang. Here's going to be one of the cars to watch here as we come up to the line. It's a 2:01! 2:01.832. Seek and ye shall find. Good things come to those who wait. Any other semantic phrases you want to throw in there for good measure. Martinson is pole right now with 3.5 minutes to go. Beautiful stuff from him there. Homer is going to come to the line, but unfortunately a little bit slower, so I think he's is just his installation lap. Olsen coming up to the line as well, looking like a good run through. There's going to be a 2:03 maybe, or no, not quite there. It's a 2:05.3 again, although did get quite close to an improvement, just not quite enough. Craig Morrison is going to hop up the table a little bit. It's going to rejoin the Silver Compatriots, but it's all eyes on Niesbet as he has actually leapfrogged a couple of silvers. Zimmer and Morrison have got a bit of work to do. Back up to the front though, Martinson is currently up on his previous. He's about half a second. But let's keep an eye on him and see what he does. Camera taking a bit of a second to catch up there. We're just taking a moment to observe through as he now makes his way through into 130R. He's still half a second up. He could get this below a 1.5 even if he gets this Casio triangle down. Looking very smooth there. Much more composed than his initial laps. Much stronger there. But coming up to the line, is it going to be enough? Could he even get into the hallowed 2 minutes? Let's see. It's going to be close. It's a 2:01.0. Really excellent stuff there. Sector 2, he sets the timing board completely alight. Meanwhile, you have North currently in 7th, trying to jump up, and does so. Big hop up the field, nearly a second. That's going to put him well between Martinson and Wilson for 2nd on the grid. Next few couple of cars making their way. Here's Peter Smith out of the bronze fight. Remember, 1 minute left. He's going to get himself up into 2nd in class. Very smooth and nice run there. Will there be any improvements from the others? Here's Roger Dismuquez. He's going to get to a 3.9. It's only enough for 5th right now, but he has one more shot. One more shot, and then he has got his time fully elapsed. Remember, the final 10 minutes, oh, a little bit too deep there onto the grass. I think that's an abandoned. Yes, that is an abandoned for Dismuquez. That is his quali done. Apologies, folks. Just trying to fix a quick technical hiccup in the background. Well, there we go. Mitchell is off the side of the circuit. He's not going to get an improvement on a 2:02, so the best he's going to have is 4th position. Everyone has got a time on the boards, and at the 10-minute mark officially cleared, you can see here is the gold class runners out in droves. GMR leads as he's just going to be ahead of fellow Wolfpack driver. I believe that is a Wolfslenner. No, that is not Wolfslenner. That is... Here's the one issue. Here's the one issue, and it's no knock at all on Wolfpack at all, is the fact that they're all in Mustangs and they all have a very similar palette, which great for design consistency, but sometimes makes it a little bit difficult to pick out who is who. If you had the same design palette on maybe a McLaren and a Mustang and a Porsche, then it'll be a little bit easier, but that's no knock. It just makes it a little bit funny. You see a wave of rainbow Mustangs, all with the Wolfpack livery. It's a little bit of fun. Sullivan comes up to the line, one of the last runners from the first cohort of drivers. He's going to get 2:03.8, meaning that he's not going to improve, and the best he has is P4 for bronze. That is almost all the bronze drivers completed now, the only exception being Helge Olsen, who is now coming up to the line. Then it's just the last couple of silver stragglers. I believe that is Paul Murray just ahead, but no time improvement. Ooh, Olsen with a massive jump, though, to finish things off. Really good stuff from there. He's going to jump all the way up to P4, and it's going to be a solid finish. Zimmer, meanwhile, coming up to the line. Last driver of the first sitting, and then it will be gold class drivers all the way. Zimmer lightly improving, it looks like, to a 2.2. Not enough for position, but a solid end to a good qualifying for silver and bronze. And now all eyes turn to the Mustang in white and the driver numbers in white. Yamar leads as we head to the second set of qualifiers. Looks like we have got a little bit more limited number. Michael Ball is in the pits and having not set a time. I believe he joined late, as we didn't initially see him on the boards. So he will be starting from the back of the field, as everyone else is out or has set a time. We have got a bit more limited selection. We've only got 10. And curiously, we don't see some of our mainstays in the gold class of drivers. Well, one, no Lindblom. So that is going to certainly shake up the order a little bit here. We are also missing Oscari Herme and a couple of other drivers to boot as well. We have got Larson, we have got Wolfslander, we have got KMR, we've got Colin, Dave Marsh as well. We're also missing out on Engdahl, his teammate, Lindblom's teammate there. So, a few drivers missing, but I do believe that this is going to make the fight on the pro side of things, / gold side, a little bit spicier. And we do also see a couple of friendly faces in the chat, so lovely of you to join us as well. Of course, by the time you get to the end of the season, if you know your championship spot, it's sometimes about wanting to appreciate it from the other side of the aisle, so I fully understand it. And also, it is the summer, so in fact, yeah, there you go. To say, Linata's just confirmed it, going on holiday. So it is the summer now, meaning that some drivers will just have their own lives to attend to. And fully understandable at that. As you know, as a commentator, I live in a cupboard, my sleeping bag is under my desk, and I am allergic to the word social life. So you can always catch me here on a Tuesday. But with that, now making our way through the final chicane, it's going to be Gayamar. And coming up, what time is he going to be setting in that Mustang? It's looking good. Really clean lap. Is it going to be enough to right out the gate to jump the entire order? 59.4. I'd say that's good enough. I'd certainly say that's good enough to jump the order. Björklund coming through second and immediately getting overtaken by Johan Larsson, who is going to jump with a 2-minute .5. Wolfslander with a 2-minute .1. Gayamar so far only driver to get below the 2-minute mark. We'll see if that changes. Dave Marsh across the line, 2:09. We'll see if Colin McNair is going to be next up on the docket. It's the 2-minute .6. So nobody is able to break that threshold initially. Holmberg getting a 2-minute .9 as well, just behind Marsh. Nobody initially is able to break that barrier, but I think we still are going to have a few more drivers before we see quali end out. 5 minutes to go. Peyton come to the line. Last driver out of the first spin. As he's coming up to the line, it is a solid time. It's a 2:01.5, but he has got a bit of work to do still, as he's actually going to be behind the quali leader for silver. That is Martinson. We do have Cutler as well, but Cutler invalidated his first lap, so he's going to have a shot at going out again. So now, next set of runs making their way. Björklund, I'm curious to see how he does here, because he did have a strong initial run immediately following up on Gayamar, but wasn't quite in the same tax bracket, if that makes sense. We'll see coming up, potentially about a second improved. Is he going to be the next driver to sneak into the 59s? Let's find out. 0.950. Beautiful. That is going to be 2 cars now into the fabled 1-minute 59. Will anyone else join them? There's going to be McNair invalidating, unfortunately, there. Larson comes across the line with a 2-minute .0, and Wolfslander, no improvement on that occasion, but Damien Reed has not long come through, and he's got a 2-minute .572. The timings on this end of the field, they are so tight. They are ridiculously so. But let's see what the rest of the field has in store now. We have got Cutler once again, I believe, invalidating his time, so he's not going to have an improvement just yet. Here's James Payton. Will he be able to jump out ahead of Martinson as he comes up to the line? I think he's going to be tucking inside and bowing out here. It's going to be close, but small improvement, not enough. Last couple of minutes on the board is going to mean that it is a last couple of chances for the drivers. We've got about 2 laps left in our roster here. Gayamar, you could argue, might be able to sneak in a third, but it's going to be very tight. He's currently halfway through his current. In fact, let me rephrase. It is 2 more laps. AMR's not going to be able to get round in time, I don't think. Curiosity for me is how these different sets of racers are going to commingle once the racing starts. Because we've seen it many times before, but we know that the field loves to mix up. And while we didn't see it at France, we actually saw the most segmented field we ever have this season. We know that the drivers love a good fight between classes, even if it isn't technically viable. They just like to keep each other on their toes, what can I say? Here comes Larson. Small improvement here, but will that be enough to get him into that 1 minute threshold? It is going to be enough, and just enough to get past Björklund. 100th of a second splits the two, and Larson in the 848 is going to be on the front row alongside Guillemard, whose initial time has yet still to be touched, even by himself. He's got that initial flying masterclass, and he hasn't been able to top it since. Dave Marsh now heading into the pits after a dud run, so he's going to be setting himself up for at least a start, maybe in row 4 or even 5, depends on how the other drivers do. Cutler finally getting a time on the board, and it is enough for P9, with Reed, Holmberg and Wolfslenner both returning to the pits and consolidating their positions in 4th to 6th. Those last chances for many of the field. Of course, if you're in the pits by this point, you have considered your session done. Some drivers have taken more quali laps than others. Larson, I think, has taken the 4 laps alongside McNair and Cutler. A couple of others have elected not to go all the way. North and Wilson, curiously, they had 5 quali laps under their belt, so including out laps, that is quite the hefty stint. It really shows trying to squeeze out every attempt. You can see the track is scorching hot here in Japan. 40 degrees surface temps. We're actually going to have maybe an issue with drivers controlling their tyre thermals. I think that's something they'll have to be very wary of, because that tarmac is going to be like lava. It is going to be burning to the touch, and those tyres are going to stick to it like nothing, but also burn themselves out very quick. Guillemard is going to improve by a couple of tenths of a second, get a .280 to finish the session off. Beautiful stuff there. Björklund getting no improvement, but let's see what the rest of the order has. McNair getting an invalidation, so he will not be setting a new time. Last run is coming in, is going to be from Cutler. Everyone else are heading into the pits. Cutler is going to be our last runner on the boards. Let's see what he has. Coming up to the line. I think he's running a fair bit slow. I think he's tailed off. Yes, he has tucked into the pits. And so that is going to be session done. Let's take stock of what we have ahead of the final race of the season, folks. It's been a great qualifying, but 9 drivers are going to be taking your 3 podiums respectively out of qualifying. Guillemard is going to be your driver to beat with a .280 and over half a second clear of fellow Wolfpack driver Johan Larsson. In fact, it is a gold class podium knockout or lockout from the likes of Björklund, Larsson and Guillemard. And with that in mind, we have also got to go to the silvers. Martinson is going to be in first for the silvers alongside North and Wilson in the Aston Martins. Almost following a little bit close to the, minus Mitchell, following close to the championship order. And then finally, Nisbet alongside Colomb and Peter Smith, all in the McLaren. So, really, really good stuff there from all 3 of them. And with that, it is going to be a big... It is going to be... Apologies, folks. Just had to deal with a security issue. It is going to be a big send to the finale of the season. We're going to take a quick technical intermission, and then we'll be right back with you, folks. So don't go anywhere. Alright folks, welcome back and thank you for your patience as always. Let's jump straight in with the grid walk, and it's going to be Gaimar who leads with the 208 Mustang alongside the 848 Mustang of Johan Larsson. Wolfpack front row lockout and second row lockout to follow, as it's Björklund in the 444 orange alongside Peter Wolfslenner to complete things out here. So front two rows looking very strong for the team there, really showing their dominance as a team together. Holmberg is going to complete with the top 5 and the number 231 Mustang, and then it's Damien Reed in the 979 Lexus. Beautiful car. I still love it to this day, one of my favourite liveries. And then alongside that is going to be McNair in the Iron Brew 13 Nismo. Completely stammering my words, apologies about that one, folks. Dave Marsh is going to complete row 4 with the number 27 Porsche, and then it's the Shark Bite 35 Nismo of Justin Cutler alongside silver class leader Matthias Martinsson, who is in the number 7 and leading for that group. James Payton a little bit separated from the other golds, but still coming on strong in the 11th, and then it's alongside Alex North, second place for the silvers, to complete row 6. Row 7 is going to be led by none other than Chris Wilson, and it's going to be United Kingdom row as the two Vantages of Wilson and Arscombe in the 49 and 76 going to hold this one firm, closely followed by the number 24 Rothmans Porsche of John Mitchell. Beautiful tribute livery there, and then it's the number 90 Pepsi Max McLaren of Paul Murray to close out with row 8. Row 9 is going to be home to Randy Zimmer alongside Robert Homer in the red and white Porsche. The number 6 there, closely followed, and row 10 is going to be Eero Suri in the 992. Still classic, menacing black and red with Niesbet in the Niesbet in the bronze. So apologies folks earlier, so I had to deal with an account that was compromised in a server that I run, and without getting too much into it, student safeguarding is a very high priority, so I had to drop everything and resolve that. But Kalam and Smith are going to be in row 11 alongside Craig Morrison and Helge Olsen in row 12. Really solid showing from all the drivers tonight to bring a beautiful season to a close. But it's going to be Olsen, as we said, and then Sullivan alongside Rog Dismukes to complete that row. And last couple of cars as we head now into Sector 3 and we start to get into formation. It's Stuart Holmes in the number 27, or the 27th position in the number 2 McLaren, and then Trickett in the 115 McLaren, looking very sharp with the black and red. Michael Ball is going to complete things off, of course not setting a time in qualifying, meaning that he will start from the back of the field. And there you go, that is the order, folks. So now this is where it gets interesting. You know how this goes by now, but if this is your first time joining us, of course, welcome. That's the first thing. If it is a case of you being new, then how we do things, we have a 60-minute race, a mandatory pit stop, no fixed window, but fuel is required, with tyres being an option should you choose it. A couple of different strategic options there, but you can see now everyone lining up 60Ks, double file, for formation, and for the final race of the season. It's been an absolute privilege and an honour to be your voice alongside you as we've had another brilliant season in the books, but all great things must come to a close, and Season 9 of SimSeniors is no different. Making our way down to the start-finish straight for the final time this side of a single-digit season count. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be frenetic, and it's going to be the racing you know and love, waiting for that green flag from race control. The track is hot for the 10th and final round of SimSeniors, and now making our way, we're about to get going for some beautiful racing, and coming up to the line, there we are. Let's do this, let's have a go one more time, let's have some fun. And immediately Wolfslenner on the outside trying to go for a push. You can see Larson having to duck out wide, having a bit of a off position from the start there, but jumping on board the helicopter, you can see gaggle of cars. That's Eero going off the side of the track, completely sliding out and having to rejoin towards the back end. He's going to be right next to Dismukes there, but contact being made. I believe that is with think Craig Morrison right there with Robert Homer. There's a little bit of scuffling and a little bit of squabbling as we have multiple cars all fighting for position, just trying to get a word in edgeways, and nobody is going to be budging. We will have Dismukaz and Bull having a major contact between the two, eventually going to be spun round. So not looking too hot on their front. We will get a replay in due course. But everyone just trying to get some fighting going, get themselves settled into some positions, and this is going to be the tough part for them. Everyone wants to jump ahead as soon as possible. I mean, we see that right here. Wolfslenner trying to make a move on Björklund. Making a move on Björklund right now as we speak. Just trying to get a run done, but also not trying to get the nose out too much. Now, the tough compromise at the start of the race is, do you go aggressive and potentially risk a collision where everyone else is trying to push, or do you play it safe, get some space, and then start to forge your path ahead? That's the dichotomy, that's the balance that you have to strike in racing. Knowing when and when not to go for a move is such an important part of what makes a great racer. You can see Reed tucking into the back of Holmberg, for example, and waiting and preying on the mistakes from others to try and carry him through. Case in point, McNair going a little bit wide at a 130R. He has made up a couple of positions. He is looking good. And so far, it looks like McNair is one of the biggest gainers alongside John Mitchell from the start of the race. Björklund making an interesting decision. He's gone straight into the pits out of the start of the race. I don't really know what's going on there with that Mustang, but he's certainly made an interesting choice. This is either going to be a strategic masterclass or a technical issue that is going to be throwing him a little bit. Let's see what we have in store, though, as Murray is going to be trying to close in on North. Remember, through this snaking part, Sector 1, it is going to be a bit of a difficult spot to overtake. Oh, yep, so we have got a confirmation now. I just got it through on the data. It was a drive-through at start, so that was Björklund clearing that one, and that is going to be tough for him as he's now stuck in P26. Really not in a good spot here. Going to have to fight hard if he wants to keep this going. We'll see Holmberg as well, trying to chase on McNair, where he made moves up. Holmberg's trying to stay relatively even. We also had a couple of hiccups and a couple of issues with some other cars, but let's take a look and see if Holmberg has anything in his pocket to try and get an early surge. Wonder what we're going to have from the field here. As a couple of moves could be made, especially Casio Triangle out of 130R. That is a hotspot for moves. We do see drivers sometimes send it on either side heading into this chicane, because you can get a good run out of there if you know how to get on the throttle. See if any drivers take advantage of that. We'll see if Cutler has anything up his sleeve as he's closing in very hard to Damien Reed. But curiously, he backs off. I think he's just biding his time. He knows that this isn't a good place to go for an overtake because it can get very treacherous, especially if you're side by side heading into this next part of the course. It'll be, of course, the S's. See him North trying to chase onto Mitchell, as Martinson still holds onto first place for the Silvers. Again, we see a very segmented order. Don't really see any of the other drivers mingling in, and I don't think we will see that here until at least the pit window, where some drivers start to sort of diverge and try and get out some clean air from the other racers. North going a little bit wide out of first Degner. Degner 1, Degner 2. And then under the bridge, into the hairpin. This is another hot spot for moves. Drivers sometimes send it on the inside into the hairpin. Of course, heavy braking zone, so it is fairly optimal. You see, case in point, Rich Arscombe. He's going to come up to alongside Randy Zimmer. Just try and get the nose out with a sharp entry, but The good throttle and a solid exit from Zimmer is going to lock him out, at least for now. Not quite going to be there just yet, but Oscom has made his intent clear. Let's actually wind the clocks back a bit, as we do have an issue. There is Colomb off the side of the circuit in the grass. Looks like there is a technical issue of some kind, as it looks like he peeled off there of his own volition. And there you go, he is sort of peeling off to the outside of the circuit too. I think there is a major issue he's having. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him retire out. A great shame, especially on our last round. He has returned to the pits. I think this might be his session done. See if Trickett has anything up his sleeves. Not going to make a pun about him having tricks or anything of that nature. See Colomb in the pits once again, confirmed, and I just got the yellow flag to seal it. You see him go down the inside though. Sweeping move on Stuart Holmes, really squeezing him to the edge of the circuit there, but he has got that move done. He has certainly put that pressure down. Certainly got that squeeze and really getting the angle. See what he has, but Hero, another driver to watch. Let's actually jump on board with the helicopter and take a review previously on where we saw the incident. We had, of course, Bull and Dismukes coming together earlier in the session. Looks like we have had also an issue with the number 2 car, Stuart Holmes, as Trickett has made light contact with him through his overtake. But let's wind the clocks back a bit. So remember, back to the start. This is a replay, and this is we're going to keep an eye on. Dismukes leading off from Hero. So, Hero side by side. He manages to sweep around, and actually really brilliant move, sweeping around 2, almost 3 cars, but then there you go, just contact made. Olsen completely spinning his car 180 and getting squeezed out, but there you go. I'll say, I mean, it's a shame I didn't fully capture and appreciate that on camera, but that was a really solid move from Hero there, getting around multiple cars, and in smooth fashion too. We might see him do it again as he comes into the Casio triangle. Perfect braking. That was a masterclass of a corner. Well executed there from the Porsche. No notes. A star. 10 out of 10. See Hermé in the chat as well. And Hermé, is it your birthday? Is it actually? Genuinely need to know. This is well, a fine birthday to you, my good sir. Wishing you nothing but the absolute best. Hope it's been a good day for you, mate. Oh, okay. 41st. Absolutely beautiful. Well, happy birthday, mate. And to say, anyone in the chat, be sure to wish him well also. Wish him that happy birthday that he definitely deserves. Hope it's been a brilliant one, mate. Really good to see you in chat. And, of course, have a brilliant one. Ooh, big squeeze coming in through the hairpin. The hairpin loves to put multiple cars together and crunch them into a situation where you have to tuck out or you have to go for an overtake of some kind. I think Wilson was on the cusp of tucking in narrow and just seeing if he can get a move in edgeways on Murray, but then he would just be stuck himself, as North is also right there. We'll see Holmberg going a little bit wide at 130R, but trying to keep proximity to Colin. It's a trap that many drivers fall into, just taking a bit too much speed. You can't really scrub it as quickly as you thought, and you're certainly not going to risk getting any lift-off oversteer. You're better off just committing to your line, taking it wide, and remembering for next time. Learn for the next experience. so far, really solid driving from everyone out there. We're going to see Murray briefly try his hand at Wilson's position, but oh no, that's gone rough real fast. Murray, and also to an extent, say Zimmer and Oscar Wilson, all getting caught up. I think we're going to have to see a bit of a live replay of that one. We're going to jump aboard with a helicopter, so let's see play by play exactly what's happening. Paul Murray goes for the attack of Wilson here, the number 49, heading into the first corner of lap 5. Now, he tucks in narrow. We can see that Wilson goes a little bit wide, but Murray going too far out. Randy Zimmer getting involved in the contact as well. And, yeah, very soon turned into a rough time for all involved. A rough innings for him, but has got work to do to recover now. Trickett is coming up behind and gone a little bit too hot into Degner 1. See, back into the sharp end of things. Curiously, Guillemard has started to build quite a lead for himself. He's currently starting lap 6, and he has got almost 5 seconds between himself and Johan Larsson. Wolfslander is a little bit further away from P2 as well, but it looks like the front end of the field is just trying to get some gaps out. Reed could be under a bit of pressure, as Cutler is still right there, still breathing down his neck. And we even see Iro making a run on Paul Murray out of the Casio triangle. Another well-executed overtake. We'll wind the clocks back here and see exactly how he did it. So, back to the helicopter once more. Here's the replay. Oh, a little bit too hot on the triangle, but I wonder if there is sort of similar case. Oh, Murray, yeah, making a mistake out on the exit. That was what gave Turi the position. Interesting stuff there. But there you go. That is how Murray's now currently in P18, and with that we go back to real time. We'll see who has got the next set. So we do unfortunately say goodbye to Colomb. He did have that technical or some kind of issue anyway that ended up peeling him out of the race entirely. So let's see who has got what it takes now, as the session will go through to its next crucial stage. That crucial stage here is going to be what we have now in front of us. We're 15 minutes in, or coming up to 15 minutes in, and the main thing from my perspective is now just about seeing who has the means and the wherewithal to take this race by the horns, and to see who has got what it takes to really challenge that top brass. Now, while we have seen some championship protagonists throughout the season really take the reins and start to build those points leads, we also have had many drivers who have given us some surprises. We have had a few drivers who have really shown us that they do have what it takes, and they can bring us some fiery results when push comes to shove. I mean, Guillemard is a key example that while being second in the championship and Liam Blom continuing to be a dominant force, even in his current state, he is going to continue to prove himself as a champion in his own right, alongside, of course, Liam Blom, who's ahead now. It's interesting because Liam Blom would have had a lot of ballast if he was here tonight. He would have had 40 kilograms. Wolfslander is the only driver with positive ballast right now. He's got 15 kilos added onto his car. So Considering the amount of pace he's able to hold, it's actually quite impressive. Remember the success ballast we do have in place to make sure that things are kept fairly reined in terms of driver performance. And also we have Reed, who has, I think that is, negative 10 kilograms. So he's actually got a bit of a performance boost to bring him back in here. He's had 10 kilograms removed from the car as part of that active balance of performance. So final shot here for North, as he is going to come up very close. Now, North's an interesting story because Mitchell is still mathematically at this point, if they finished as they are, he would still be ahead and he would still take the championship. But North has a lot that he wants to prove, and has certainly proved it this season. He has really brought some good results to the table, and he's shown himself to be a strong driver. We see Mitchell making a mistake, and here is his chance to shine, but Mitchell's not going to let him go that easy through the S's. They're going to go side by side. You don't do that here, but they do it anyway, making their way through that entire first sector, completely in tandem with one another. This is pretty close. You can see how close they are to each other's doors, squeezing each other to the wreckage edge. A little bit of contact, both of them. Mitchell is a casualty, and North as well. They both go round, completely just wiping each other out as they make contact. Hero has to take evasive action, as that is a spin from North to try and right himself on the course. He gets out faster than Mitchell does. Mitchell is going to be behind him, and there will be a gap between the two now. But this has completely changed their dynamic. Now Martinson is the one to lead for the Silvers, and by over 10 seconds, a significant margin. We're seeing North making yet another mistake. He goes up into the Degners, and Mitchell is going to take the spot back up. Rough innings for both of these silver leaders, but look at those cars. They have seen better days. Mighty, mighty scrap. But hopefully they got it out of their system. Now it's just time to see it through. Session is young, after all. Still have 2/3 of it left to go. Although we will be starting to soon see some of the drivers pitting in on their strategy. Björklund has been somewhat under the radar since taking his drive-through penalty, but he is going to keep forging ahead and is now on the back of Nisbet. He's trying to recover. Remember, he got all the way down to P26 coming out of his drive-through penalty. He's now silently sifted his way all the way up to 18 and counting. So, quite impressed. But we do see North now heading into the pits. I think he's taken a smart move. Going into the pits now is a much better strategy, as opposed to getting a pit stop later, where he's having to potentially carry damage throughout those remaining 4 or 5 laps. See Nisbet hot on the defense, as Björklund is going to be right there. Now, despite being separate classes, it is still fighting each other on the track. It doesn't really get sort of blue flag conditions until you get a lap down, but it's still about whether you want to entertain the fight, and it looks like Nisbet is choosing self-preservation. Not that he's going to get hit or made contact with or anything, but just it's more efficient for his personal race to let Björklund through, because Björklund is unrelated to his result. Better to let him be. Better to let him through. And then that will reduce the time he loses from fighting. We'll see North now coming out to the pits. Fairly nominal timing on the pit stop. He's going to join Murray and Disminkes, who have also taken stops of their own. Björklund is now hot onto the back of Hero, making quick work of that multiple second gap. It looks like he is going to be signalling, giving a light tap, a light nudge on the shoulder. Looks like there was slight contact as well, but going to the inside of the Casio triangle. Looks like he's going to tuck in behind. Welcome with another move. A lot of the field further up has calmed down quite significantly. They're not interested in fighting. They just want to get their laps in now. And look at the leaders. Guillemot, 8.5 to Larson. Wolfslander could be on the cusp of a fight, but beyond that, most drivers are at least a second or over. Greg Morrison, however, has something different to say about that, as Homer is going to be in his crosshairs. You're going to see a little bit slow coming out of Dunlop. This could be a chance heading into Degner 1, Degner 2. Is Morrison going to go aggressive on it early, or is he going to tail back? Looks like he's going to hang back for now. I think if he gets a good exit out of here, he might be able to stage an attack into the hairpin. Will there be Homer countering that? No, it looks like he's going to take the standard racing line, if a little bit narrow, to just try and cover things off. Homer's got a solid handle on that Porsche. He doesn't look like he's having any trouble feeling a gap, especially on corner exit. You can get the car to almost dig, akin to a drag racer. You can really get it to dig into a corner, power out on throttle if you have it set up correctly. I think that's kind of what he's leaning on right now. Take a bit of that slip angle, power out of the corner, nice and quick. Homer, they're looking very strong in that Porsche right now. We do see Justin Cutler making an interesting choice, heading into the pits. First out of all the golds to do so, with the exception of sort of anyone at the back of the field, although it's just Murray, North and Dismiquez right now who have taken stops. North has just had a drive-through penalty cleared to add insult to injury. He is going to be brutally hit with yet another black mark on his race today. See, track is absolutely scorching. It's gone up, in fact, to 32 degrees ambient, 41 surface temps. I'm surprised that tarmac is still holding together. It looks like at any moment it can combust. It could turn into a pool and start dribbling down the S's. Absolutely scorching. But this is, of course, going to mean perfect for keeping your car nice and grippy, at the expense of maybe some longevity on the tyres. Looks like Trickett's having a major issue here. Looks like he's struggling with that car. He had a yellow flag locally for a good while there in the 115. So we'll see if he's able to get a handle on the McLaren. Speaking of the McLaren that has held well on this race so far, it's going to be Niesbet. Although Sullivan is going to be the leader for bronze, Niesbet's doing some pretty good stuff himself. And Sullivan could have a real chance here to challenge on the lead of the championship. In terms of racer, not so much in points, but certainly in terms of proving himself to be a fast racer. We know Sullivan has it in him. We have seen in rounds past those flickers of brilliance. But he has got major points penalties, dragging him down what otherwise is a fairly good result. I think he is the highest points penalty holder. I think it's 52 points that he has lost due to penalties and infractions. Yes. Yeah. It was a little bit difficult to read on the website. I think my scaling is slightly too small from the distance I'm seeing at my screen. But yeah, otherwise solid racer, just marred by penalty points deducting good results by all counts. Meanwhile, we do see a bit of a squabble at the sharp end of the table. It's going to be Wolfslander v Larson, now making their way into the hairpin of lap 12. Smooth sweep. Both trying to power out as quickly as possible. Larson a little bit better of an exit, but now heading into 200R. A smooth arc and trajectory sets you up nice and well for Spoon. Double left-hander, careful of that second apex. A little bit too hot there. There's going to be Wolfsland a poke in the nose, but door closed. Larson hunting for P2, and he's going to keep it. Solid attack, but also really good defense in response. This is the kind of racing that I want to see. This is two drivers knowing that they have each other and their own space on the track to fight, to squabble, and to see who comes out on top. Although Larson is going to excuse himself from the fight. He's thinking of the wider race here, and he's going to get himself out of a situation where he'd lose time otherwise. Smart on the race front, but of course we wanted to see those two clash and lock horns. Coming up to the halfway mark though, so not surprising. Not surprising in the slightest that some of the leaders are now starting to go in. Did of course have Björklund with his drive-through earlier. We had Cutler with his full core pit stop. We do see Sullivan actually dropping down significantly, going to the narrows, as he's not only lost positions to the like of Nisbet, but he's gone down even further. Nothing has flagged to indicate an issue. Purely is just him maybe making a mistake, sliding out of a corner and leaving himself out to dry. Larson is going to be dropping down the order, of course, but will all make sense on the other side. Mitchell and Sullivan both heading into the pits, so bronze and silver drivers respectively, or silver and bronze drivers respectively, now choosing to pull the trigger on their race strategy now. You see Damien Reed also going for a bit of an attack onto Holmberg, although the cameras kind of betrayed us there for a moment. We'll see in there, although we'll see what the racers have to show for us here. Larson now coming out on to the next lap, and actually, Larson, I think, has sort of bugged out the timing order slightly, because according to this, he's taken his full pit stop, and he's miraculously a lap ahead. There we go. It has now equaled out to lap 8, or position 18, lap 13. Sometimes the telemetry has just done this as of sort of its most recent. See what's going on there anyway. Now, Holmberg closing in on the back of Reed. Both of them squeezing each other for as much as they have. See what these racers can do. And who has got what it takes. It's a mass deluge of cars now heading into the pits. As Wolfsland, Reed, Holmberg, Marsh and Martinson all going in. Guillemard choosing to stay out a little bit longer. He's going to go, I think, to the other side of 30 minutes before he jumps into the pits himself. See that over half the field by this point has now taken a stop in, or at least a majority of the field. Wilson is going to jump in as well. Was behind Nisbet, but like others before him, has opted out of the fight in favour of preserving position and pulling the trigger on his strategy early. A few more cars now making their way. Cutler, of course, having taken his pit stop earlier, this is his chance to jump and change positions. Question is, where will he actually come out? As he's going to pass by a few cars, but you can see in the foreground that is Damien Reed. He is going to be up ahead, and he's just going to leapfrog Dave Marsh as well. Smooth operator, much so. Good call with the strategy. I think that was a really smart move of him. He, of course, a little bit down on his position, but now has got a chance to really make it up, because a significant chunk of the drivers ahead of him have yet to pit in. So there is a lot more variance available. And Guillemard is going to keep going forward, continue forward here. We'll see if McNair is going to peel into the pits. I believe that is Sullivan. Christian Sullivan just going to go narrow, but otherwise keep going as McNair is choosing to peel in. Will James Payton do the same? Looks like he will indeed. So most drivers trying to keep it as close to the half-hour mark as possible. Run a quote-unquote optimal strategy, and then see how things are. Do see a couple of local yellows. Oh no, that's Helge Olsen. Olsen not doing too hot there. Yeesh. You can say the same for Bull as well. Olsen, will they be able to recover back onto the field? Oh, yep, there we go. They're back on track. Back on track now. Now, most of the field has taken their pit stop by this point. We now see Björklund, Payton, Vasuri, Smith, and Zimmer, there we go, into the pits now. So that only leaves a few drivers remaining. Yamar, Arscombe, Homer, Niesbet, Olsen, and Bull are the last drivers who have yet to pit in. We'll see Björklund, Smith, Vasuri now coming out. What kind of positions are they going to be in? Zimmer is going to be in a good spot. He's just behind Martinson, so he's actually holding second place in the order for Silvers now that all has equaled out. See Arscombe still up ahead along with Homer, so those are the only potential wild cards that we could still see shaking up the grey numbers that you see on your screens. We'll see Gaimar heading into the pits now. He's going to be taking his stop. Where will he come out relative to the likes of Wolfslanner? I'm more interested in the time gap, as we see Wolfslanner making quick work of a Niesbet through Spoon Curve and into 130R. Time is of the essence for many, but now it's time to see who has that final push. We're 26 minutes away from the end, which is going to be circa 13 laps, and we'll see the drivers finish roughly around lap 28-29 by the looks of things. So, time to see who's going to give that final go. Curiously, Wolfslanner now out is going to be 10.5 seconds away from Geomar, who has taken his pit stop and he's just coming out of the S's now. So all easy and all said and done, that is going to be where things stand. Geomar contains his order and contains his lead, but hasn't lost or gained time either way, which you typically expect from an undercut of that type from the likes of the others. Geomar's overcut kind of left him in open air because there wasn't anyone to squabble with. Where I think Wolfslanner might have suffered because he did come out into traffic. Homburg trying to chase on to Cutler, for instance. And I think, say, well-timed pit stops can sometimes supersede these fights in their entirety. We do see, for example, Larson. He is going to be behind Wolfslanner by 1.7 seconds. So, classic case of a pit stop replacing a combat. There we go. Oh, a bit of a wobble from Larson there. I think his confidence might be a little bit shaken, actually. But never one to often see him lose composure like that. Maybe the Mustang just being a bit rowdy for him. Don't want to jump to conclusions, at least. Holmberg still hot on the heels of Cutler. I just wonder if he is going to pull the trigger on a move, or if he's just not quite got the proximity yet. Niesbet finally in the pits. Niesbet is going to be, of course, dropping down the order, but the most important thing is where he comes out. Pit stops tend to be about 65 to 70 seconds here at Suzuka. So there is going to be swooping challenges. I think now it's clear to see who is going to be an immediate threat to you and who is going to be a driver who you don't necessarily need to worry about. Take Homer, for example. He is on the back of Guillemot, and he is being chased slowly by Wolfslander, but neither of those drivers are going to pay him much mind, through no fault of his own, to be clear, but just because he hasn't taken his stop. He's on a separate race. Cutler and Marsh also getting involved in what could be very soon a three-way squabble. Holmberg and Cutler briefly locking horns. Although Marsh is tailing off the back a little bit, I think that is in part due to 130R stretching the space between. You can see a slow line coming out from Cutler. They're very close to the rear. Ooh, bonus points with that little SIMseniors logo on the back of the Nismo. We'll just keep it on board with Marsh for the time being, as he's keeping the proximity. He's really doing a good job to handle that car. The dirty air doesn't always get considered, but it is a factor on these cars, especially once you get some of those higher speeds. When you're talking 150 to 200 k's plus, you do lose lateral grip. It can be an issue. This is why you see drivers sometimes tuck outside of the line. You see Holmberg actually running a little bit slow and boxing out Cutler as he went to the inside there. Smooth overtake from Marsh, though, capitalising on the situation. Then Wilson and Morrison also trading places a little bit further down the order. Eyes on these three right now, as this could be a big fight for them. See, Cutler is 11th in the championship, Marsh is 7th, and Holmberg is 12th. So they do have quite a separation in the championship, but could still shake things up for each other. We'll even see Wilson getting involved on the action, as Morrison is not going to be looking like he can get it off easy. Björklund is up into 13th now. Again, the silent sweeping through the field as the entire roster has fallen victim to him in the 444. He's only 3 cars, and then he is back to the back of the pack for the golds. That is insanely impressive, might I say, to be able to recover that much from a drive-through penalty. I was about to say stop and go, but that would have been just torture. That would have been torturous. There's no coming back from that. See Morrison and Wilson still battling it out. But yeah, Björklund making as much of a recovery as he has is certainly a feat worth being impressed by. Cutler has fallen off the back of the fight with Marsh and Holmberg, so safe to say he's not going to be in the same running, but we'll still keep an eye on him. We will see Björklund go for the attack on Randy Zimmer through the first corner and get the apex out into the S's. That's another move done for Nicholas, and he is one step closer to rejoining the rest of the Gold crew. He's got 12 seconds of cars standing in his way, but given his track record, I wouldn't put that past him. Mitchell onto the back of Homer, for example. We see two fights happening in very close proximity. We'll see Morrison and Wilson still go at it. I think that is a Bull up ahead. And there you go, blue flags being observed. Bull peeling right to a slow, letting the other cars go by before rejoining the racing line. See, that while quite compromising to himself, is how you should be handling it. Because when you have other drivers and other racers a lap ahead, multiple laps ahead, that can be championship deciding. Reed and Cutler really going at it now. Cutler's actually he's made a sort of calm move through. We'll see if Reed has anything in the way of a response. Okay, Reed has dropped a bit of time. Bit of a rough hairpin for him there, but Cutler is still going to prove him as a bit of a guide. I think he can use that Nismo to his advantage if he just keeps the proximity. Meanwhile, a little bit further down, we do see squabbling. Here's Homer getting involved in the fight with Wilson and Morrison. Both of them spacing out, but Homer really tucking into the back of that Vantage now. They did almost even have a bit of contact. Even John Mitchell's getting involved. See Björklund making another overtake in the background. This time it's going to be on Rich Arscombe. So up into P11, nearly in the top 10. Made up time at a ridiculous pace. Be sure to keep an eye on him once he reaches that hallowed top 10 spot and he challenges on Martinson for the position. A little bit of squabbling coming in. Wilson goes narrow to try and almost force an opening on Morrison through the Casio triangle, but no dice, just not close enough to get the nose in, although this could quickly be changing. Morrison is going to lead off the two, but Wilson does go slow out of the final corner. Homer's going to take full advantage. He's going to get that Porsche up into 14th place, with Wilson tucking briefly to either side of that 992, just trying, I think there was contact, the both of them going together, and just like that they return to the track behind the others. Mitchell and Zimmer getting a free spot, Homer dropping even further down as he's now going to be in Vissuri's crosshairs, but not looking good there. Wilson managing to luckily make a quick recovery, but same can't be said for the Porsche in that altercation. We'll even see Michael Bull going a little bit off track to just get out of the way of the other cars. He's even going to probably have to do the same. Unfortunately, once you get to that point of the circuit, it is unfortunately the nature of the beast that you do end up compromising your race often in service of the other cars around you. There's the nature of blue flags. Of course, there is a sort of chain of command, triage, in a sense, and this is how it plays out on the circuit. So it's unlikely that we're going to see any positions gained for Michael Bull. Same goes with Olsen. Sadly, a very long pit stop has put him right at the back. I think in part due to the collision that they had through 200R earlier, we saw. So final 15 minutes. And the session soon to draw to a close. This is crunch time. Last chances for the field to get positions down. We are on lap 22. Looks like we're going to go to lap 29 by the current metrics and current timings of things. The leader's currently lapping on a 2 minute compared to some of the others around the course lapping in the 203s to 4s. This is in part why Gaimar has got a 13.5 second lead on Wolfslanner. Everyone else is lapping into the 2-minute 1s, 2-minute 2s. But Gaimar posted a 2-minute flat last time out, compared to the 2.5s and the 1s of Wolfslanner and Larson. We'll see what the rest of the track has in store. Most of them have just settled into a position now. Take McNair. He's had it very quiet. He's made some really good gains from his start. He's gained 3 positions since the start of the race. But now it's just about settling into his spot, holding his line, and bringing a solid finish home. That's the best he can do here, and it's going to be what serves him best in this championship, considering he does have a major chance to leapfrog a potential car if the points line up in his favour. I've got to say, big winner for tonight though, it is going to be Morrison. Now, he has just been overtaken by Zimmer, but he's still made up 9 positions since the start of his race. So, he has done exceptionally well and really put pedal to metal in order to resolve and get the most out of his race. Certainly seems to be a driver who thrives in race trim, less so than quali. Who is going to be driver who goes for a last-minute lunge on the competition? Safe to say the top 5 is going to be having none of the sort, unless someone has a major incident. But we can still keep to the eyes of Marsh, to Reed, to even that mid-pack fight that we've seen for so many laps. Morrison, Mitchell, Wilson, et al. Even Niesbet, who's getting involved on an attack on Paul Murray here. He's trying to get close to Christian Sullivan. I think he wants to get back into the lead of bronze right now. All that stands between him is the number 90 Pepsi Max McLaren. I know that's not exactly a formal name, but you've got to give it some kind of identity. Rather than just the number 90, thought we'd spice it up. See what Niesbet has to offer in these next coming laps, but right now he's just tucking in the slipstream of Murray and scrubbing a little bit of speed through some of these corners, but would not be surprised if we see him knocking on the door again very soon. Meanwhile, we have a pretty heated battle that is going to soon come to fruition. Mitchell is keeping a firm eye on Wilson there. He's going to have him locked in the rear view, waiting to see what he moves and what he does. Right now, Wilson does pose a threat. And depending on the way you slice it, while not a championship level threat with North so far down in the order, it certainly is going to be a threat to his chance at a podium if he wants to push forward for it. We'll see Cutler and Reed having a bit of a squabble together, as it looks like the two of them, if we just jump on the helicopter, Two of them briefly exchange places, but Cutler quick to reassert the attack. Looks like there has been an issue for another car. Looks like that is Olsen going off the track, peeling into the gravel at the edge of the hairpin, having a major off. Not looking good. Looks like he had contact, in fact, with another car, just trying to detect exactly which one it was. Let's rewind the clocks a little bit here. Looks like it's Gayamar. Is it Gayamar who he had contact with? Let's see. So, coming through Degner 1 and 2, into the hairpin, makes the way up, and, ooh, yeesh! Ouch, that is a big contact, but quickly recovered from the current leader, and Olsen going deep into the gravel, sort of bowing out of that one. I hope he hasn't got any damage from that, because that could be potentially what loses him the lead of the race. So with 8 minutes to go, I think it's still salvageable. Even if he does have damage, it's a lot of time to make up for anyone. And Gaimar is a solid driver. He's a solid driver who has got the strength to pull it off. Time is of the essence, but the pressure is going to be running high. See if Reed has anything more in the tank that he can offer to the fight between himself and Cutler, but doesn't look like it. Stuart Holmes having a issue on the Casio triangle, just going too hot for that first half of the chicane. Looks like he's going to have Martinson just peeling up behind as he regains his composure and his speed. See him go to the right there as Holmes is going to yield under the blue flag conditions. Wilson coming up to the back of Mitchell once more. Half a second between the two. Well, we'll see Wilson coming in a little bit hotter than the Porsche. Both of them having to lift off a bit for 130R. You cannot take it flat in these. You do have to, unless you have an immaculate line, you do have to lift and take a bit of it coasting through, just to get the car rotated. But nicely done nonetheless. Smooth operation from Mitchell, and Morrison is going to be further up the road, but seemingly undisturbed, at least for now. 6.5 minutes to go. All eyes on the mid-pack, but either end of the field, there is a hefty amount of spread. 23 laps in for Olsen compared to the 25, soon to be 26 for Gayamar. There is a little bit of grid spread, but that's not going to deter anyone from bringing it to the end of the race. And it is the finale. So you'd hope and expect that everyone, unless there is a major issue like we saw with Colomb, which is totally understandable, you'd want to see it through to the very end. So, final opportunity for everyone here. Make that last statement before the end of the season. It's going to be close. It's going to really bring to the end of the line here. I'll save my soppy commentary about the season in review to the very end, because right now we've got a race to finish, ladies and gentlemen. Wilson still on the back of Mitchell, but going a little bit deep into Spoon. A little bit wobbly there. I wonder if he's overdriving the car a bit and he's starting to get excess temperature in the tyres. Don't forget, folks, I know I've said it twice already, 40 degrees track surface temp. You scrub too much of those tyres, if your pressures are too low and you've got too much contact patch rubbing against the tarmac, your tyres are going to be searing. Surface, internal, they are going to be boiling. They're going to be blistering. You're going to experience some really difficult, inconsistent grip levels. You have to factor in the temps. And that's also why you see some drivers peel out the slipstream. Car cooling is important too. Brake cooling. Got to keep an eye on all temperatures of the car. Luckily, it is not immersive enough to where you have to monitor driver temperature. And if anyone is doing that and subjecting themselves to a 40-degree room, all I can say is, 1, I salute you. 2, what are you doing? That is a level of immersion that I'm not going to be investing into anytime soon, personally. Respect that commitment if that was the case. And luckily not something we have to worry about in ACC. And it's the same reason why we don't have smell-o-vision. For obvious reasons. So we did have an off on the side of the track at Degner 1. Just trying to see who that was. I think that was Rog. Yes, that was Disbiquez right there. So peeling back. He is at the back of the grid, unfortunately. A shame to see because he has otherwise been a really strong contender in the bronze side of the championship. He is 3rd right now. And he could have had a chance to challenge on Trickett for potentially stealing 2nd away. I think Niesbet has firmly locked in on the 1st position now. But yeah, a little bit of a shame to see Roger blowing out in the back end of this side of the season. But he still had an amazing season to boot up until this point. We'll see Wilson going for it into 130R. He's decided enough is enough. He wants to get it. But actually, no, he tails off. He backs out of 130R. He had the apex, so I'm a little bit curious to why he did that. He could have very much forced the move. I think he just wanted to stay out of trouble, especially considering there's only 3 minutes left. See if there's a chance to go for somewhere safer. See, there's Niesbet as well onto the back of Sullivan. He's managed to get past any silver class cars in his way, and he's now thoroughly hunting on the back of the Lamborghini for the spot. He wants the win. He wants to get that final victory under his belt before the season ends. This could be his last chance. This next lap is going to be everything for him. But we do see there is going to be Peter Smith. Wait, no, that's not Peter Smith. That's Guillemard. My mistake there. That is the leader, Guillemard, fully lapping in the mid-pack. Or the lower mid-pack. That is crazy stuff. And again, another thing. Look at the segmentation. Apart from North, once again, perfectly split classes on the field. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. You do see Homer just in the background going off the side of the track with Vasuri alongside him. Both of them committing 110% to their race, and unfortunately one of them resulting in a bit of a casualty. So time is of the essence now. If you want to get a move done, now is your chance to do it, and now only. There's no more time left. There is no more time left. And we'll hopefully soon see what the racers have to offer us. It's going to be the final shot, the final order. Mitchell coming up to the back of Wilson. It's now or never. Or Mitchell coming to the back of the Morrison. My mistake. Cutler and Reed also going for a brief position trade. And no! They're going to go both side by side and slide by slide out of Degner 1. Damien Reed fails the recovery. He spins it too much. That's going to give it back to Justin. That could have been a chance for a, well, yes, an incident, but also a chance to recover quick and get back on the feet. Sadly here, both a regrettable incident, but back to status quo for the two. Mitchell, Morrison, Wilson, still all tightly bunched together. There's going to be Morrison going a little bit too outside as we head through part of the S's and parting our snaking first sector. The leader is on the final lap of the race. We just had the confirm from race control. So now it's time to really put money where our mouth is. It's a last shot. See, Homer is going to be a little bit further away and once again briefly kicking up some dust and sand. We'll see. See that last sort of spark of an attack here. There's going to be Cutler and Reed going for one more shot, one more fight. This is really closing in on those final moments, but Reed is going to get himself through. Will he be able to keep it? Oh, a little bit of a wobble coming out of the edge of the sneaking section, but we're going to have to quickly train our eyes a little bit further away for the moment, as we see both of them just sweeping their way through Degner 1, Degner 2, now this time without incident, but final corner, rounding his way out, of course the leader of today and the winner of today's race, in absence of the likes of Lindblom, Hermé, Engdahl, others. He has truly had a chance to show his strength as a formidable racer. Guillemard has always been a solid competitor, and tonight he gets the win to finish the season. Beautiful stuff from him there, and a solid result. Wolf Slenner is going to line up in second place along with Johan Larsson to finish himself off in third and complete your podium for the gold class of drivers. They're going to be a little bit further away. There is going to be much more to come through. McNair is going to be coming up next. You can see in the background Dismukes, Ball, Olsen soon to be crossing the line. Everyone is going to be parking up, I think, over here in the runoff of turn 1 for the most part. We do see a last minute squabble. We see Mitchell on the defense, really squeezing our way through right to the ragged edge of the circuit. We're going to see Peyton coming in 6th and 7th with Marsh. So Marsh in 6th, Peyton a little bit further there, but there's going to be last shots here. Reed and Cutler, they go side by side to the line in a show of respect. Reed is going to take that position, but the two of them cruise together to a solid finish, almost as if given a four-wheeled vehicular handshake. Martinson across the line and winner of the silver category for the evening. Beautiful racing from him there. And then Rich Arscombe is going to be in a closely shaven second, about 10 seconds away. Third is going to go to the likes of Randy Zimmer. Really great showing from him there as well. And then in the order of the bronzes, top 3, it's going to be Christian Sullivan, who has unfortunately backed out of the session, but then Peter Smith is going to be in 2nd and Nisbet in 3rd. Unfortunately, you can't jump to their cars once they've backed out of the session, but it has been a beautiful session and a beautiful season. Really has been a beautiful season for everyone involved here. Now, it's always bittersweet as we sort of jump back up here. It's always bittersweet with this kind of stuff because, of course, it's been a brilliant season, but it's the end of the season, and so now this is where, at least for now, we do say goodbye. Of course, I have to be especially thankful for every driver who's come to this championship. Remember, Season 9, we combined the Monday and the Tuesdays, and we had an amazing turnout. It's been, without a doubt, the most exciting season that we have had to date. It's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to commentate over the races, being this exciting week in, week out. It's always something I look forward to on a Tuesday. But this is where we do say goodbye. Now, of course, we do have a big milestone ahead of us. We do have Season 10 on the horizon, and we do have much to look forward to in that regard. But I'm not going to spoil too much details on that now, because that's out of my station to say. That's not my news to tell. But as well as that, to everyone in the chat, whether you're a racer in the chat or whether you have been someone who's tuned in for the broadcast week in, week out, I thank you personally, because this would not be half the experience it is without the people behind it. And I will say this till the day of my demise and the day I am no longer a commentator. It's the experience in the box, both watching the racing and being part of that sort of thriving atmosphere and community. That's what makes the experience. That's what makes it so special. So I see everyone in chat. Of course, again, happy birthday, mate. I'm going to keep hammering this one in. I am going to keep hammering it in. But yeah, that's all I have to say. It's been a brilliant season once again. I hope to join you once again in Season 10. It might be a few different faces as well in Season 10, depending on the dates. It is going to be, of course, through the summer if we do have a Season 10 ahead planned in terms of specific dates. But we'll see how that one plays out. Nothing is confirmed just yet, to be clear. And with that, I say goodbye. I am going to have a nice night relax, reflect on the season, and we'll see you next, folks. For now, at least, it is goodbye. Hopefully not for long, but we'll see you again very soon. Good night, folks. We'll see you in Season 10.